Good morning. My name is Jim, and I'll be serving as your moderator. I want to introduce Lloyd Rawson and his new YouTube channel. For 20 years, he has been working as an intuitive advisor and teacher. He particularly likes teaching people about the energy field or aura of their body. Your energy field interacts with everything around you in a positive or negative manner, whether you are aware of it or not. He doesn't do well following scripts, but he does respond well to questions. So that's going to be the format. Today I have some prepared questions to get him talking about himself and what he does. In later videos, he will be answering your questions. So let's get started. Lloyd, what do you call what you do?
Officially, what's on my business card is an intuitive life facilitator. But that is so many different things and encompasses so many things that I've been looking for some method to go ahead or some kind of answer to that very question myself. And actually, not only my label, but also what it is I actually do.
So what do you do? Maybe we can figure out what to call you.
Well, I go ahead and see things from an entirely different perspective due to a few things like dying. I have a different point of view and see things such as the energy field around people that I didn't realize everybody didn't see it until I was 32 when I was told that other people don't see it. So it was very interesting because I go ahead and see people what is taking place in their life, not the, shall we say, trappings, but actually see what is really taking place in their life and why a lot of it. Problems that they have, health issues, lost things, various other things, why they're not succeeding in business, various things like that.
Well, they say that every physical, mental, and emotional trauma you've ever had is recorded and embedded somewhere in your energy field. What would you say is the effect of these traumas buried in your aura?
Most of those traumas that are in the body get expressed later on when you are older because the trauma itself is never forgotten by the body. And so this energy field that surrounds us actually holds that. So if you stubbed your toe or actually broke your foot as a child, that's going to be remembered by the body besides going ahead and having that break. The trauma or energy impact of it will go ahead and cause you to be a little more careful in stepping out. So every trauma and most traumas go ahead and they're like layers, just like Shrek talks about it on the onion. There's layers to them. You get the first layer off, and if you don't get the other layers, then you end up going ahead and having a problem with uh, the issue that you thought you had cleared coming back. In fact, even the medical profession talks about that. You go in for open heart, and they'll tell you if you don't go ahead and change your lifestyle, you'll be back in for another one.
Okay, so when you see these things in somebody's energy field, these traumas, what do you do to help them?
Most of the time, I can go ahead and point it out to the individual or talk about the issue that actually caused it, like the going back to the broken foot. A lot of times people will forget that they broke a toe or broke a bone in their foot when they get, shall we say, more mature. And in the process of doing that, they will wonder why they're afraid to step out. Because stepping out is directly related to the foot. So if you have a broken foot, broke your foot on the right side, you'll be afraid to step out and manifest things. If you break it on the left, you'll be afraid to go ahead and step out in the creative aspect, I go ahead and point those out and then give you a few exercises. That's one of the things I assign homework because you can't correct things instantly. There is work on the individual's part to go ahead and get rid of the emotional aspect. The emotional aspect, I can have two people looking at the exact same thing, and the one says ho hum and the other says oh my God. Now they're looking at the same event, what's taken place, the emotion that each of them are bringing forward.
Okay, so you gave us an example of a physical trauma. Can you give a couple little examples of mental and emotional traumas and how it might affect somebody's life?
Well, let's take a very common one, and that is a child that is going ahead and we'll say is 2, 3 years old, and the family is getting ready to go to church, and they are rushing around to get ready and get dressed, and the child is putting on his shoes and being rather slow about it. And when father comes in to say, okay, we got to go, come on, get your shoes on, let's go. And the child says, I'll do it. And most of the time they say, me do it. Then a little while later, father comes back in and says, well, come on, we got to get going here. Me do it. Well, the third time father comes in and they have to leave, so he does what? Goes over, brushes the child's hands away, and ties the shoe. Now, if you just take that one action, and that's the only time it occurs, the trauma of that, of father brushing the hands away, in other words, pushing the power of the child away, there's no big deal. But if it happens several times, then the child will feel powerless to go ahead and do things that they want. And it normally carries over into adulthood and shows up that they cannot do things unless they have somebody else helping them.
So, are you saying that you can see those events buried in the energy field of a person? Say, like an example of something happened in their childhood, and
Yes, I can go ahead and see that. In fact, sometimes uh, I get to actually watch a movie. Sometimes I don't particularly like the movie because the trauma is pretty rough. Some people have come in with club feet and the surgery that they have to go through. I'll go ahead and sometimes see that if that is part of the trauma that is buried in the body. And most of the time, surgery does cause a trauma to the body that the person has to let go later on.
this is interesting that you can see these things. Can you tell us maybe why you're able to see these things when most people can't?
Well, as my mother informed me very strongly, I died 4 times in the hospital due to pneumonia. In fact, I tried for a fifth time when I was much older. I was in fourth grade and came close to dying at that time. Then I also died when they fished me off the bottom of a swimming pool. I had been on the bottom, they don't know how long, and worked at going ahead and reviving me. And eventually I did come back. In fact, I remember that one. He was cussing me out. The lifeguard was cussing me out to beat the band. So uh, everybody says that it's due to the fact that I've had these near-death experiences that I go ahead and have this unusual or different perspective of seeing things as such, seeing the energy fields around not only bodies, but around a lot of other things also.
Okay, so Lloyd, what are you going to be doing on this YouTube channel?
One of the things that I would like to do is answer questions of people. So you can either email them in or put comments down at the bottom. That is one thing. The other thing that I'm going to do is periodically put in there what's going on as far as the earth, because some people go ahead and have major problems. We hear about the moon causing people problems and emotional problems because they tell you that the inmates of institutions get very restless on the full moon. Well, the one thing that they don't tell you is when the sun goes ahead and sets off a solar flare, it goes ahead and affects people also, causing emotional problems with them at that time. So I'm going to start talking about the various energies that come in and how they're affecting people, including how the different changes that are taking place with the earth and the sun right now are causing people to have more of a problem than they have ever had before.
So to understand energy, will you be giving some little mini lessons as you go to help understand?
I will be tying energy to the question that a person goes ahead and sends me, because that's how you really address problems with people. It doesn't make any difference whether they're stooped over because they're carrying too much of the world's weight on their shoulders, which is energetically. And once they go ahead and release that, it's amazing. They straighten right back up again. So these are some of the things I will be touching on energy, both in my comments of the energy coming in and also in the questions that I get from people.
Well, in closing, I think you mentioned to me that you're going to try to make these videos interesting, perhaps entertaining, and certainly informative. Is there anything you can add to that in closing today?
Well, some of the things are rather interesting uh, and informative because energy really affects everybody around you. How many people have gone into an office and known that the person that they were sitting beside was angry as heck? That's because of the energy that is given off by the angry person. So I will be talking about such things as stubbing your toe first thing in the morning and how that causes you to draw angry people to you. We'll also talk about how the energy from the CME, when it first goes off, they say that there's nothing that affects us. Well, it does. And then when the CME actually arrives here, which is about a day and a half later, it affects us again. So these are things that I will be talking about and try to insert some humor in it because some of the things are rather bizarre, such as people going ahead and calling about losing a engagement ring. So we see what we can do about helping them find it.
So there you go. Well, I'd like to encourage everyone to click the bell on your screen. Um, your first installment's already filmed and ready to go, so that'll be coming soon. So finally, we just like to ask everybody, would you like to call what he does? Send in your comments, and we'd like to hear from you. Thanks a lot.
That's it. I will see, hopefully, you sometime because I see people not only in front of me, but I get calls from people as far away as Japan. And you might as well say they're sitting in front of me. The woman in Austria went ahead and accused me of having a camera in front of her. So I will say, see you sometime. Bye now.